You're watching From the Soapbox to the Stage, and I'm your host, Bill Corbett. Speaking professionally requires marketable talent and good business skills. My guest says that you must be knowledgeable or good at something that people are interested in and care about. Jim Bouchard is a martial arts black belt and entrepreneur. He's the author of the Amazon bestseller, Think Like a Black Belt, a book that takes you inside the mind of the black belt to develop confidence, courage, discipline, focus, and leadership for excellence in personal and professional life. Jim has been speaking to groups since 2007. We talked in the last segment about what you do and how you got to where you are, and it's an interesting story and not one that's very common with a lot of speakers. But what I like to do is I like to ask professional speakers to offer at least one or two tips to people who are aspiring to speak, some that are thinking about it. So be gentle with them, because viewers may be watching that says, you know, I'm thinking about it. So we want to make sure there's encouragement there. In my early days of speaking, I got a great tip from a professional speaker, and he said, go find people who are doing what you want to do and hang out with them. If you can't hang out with them, then at least ask them to be your mentor, buy them a cup of coffee. And he says, ask for one or two tips. So that's what I'm going to do in this segment, and we'll see where it goes. So what tip would you first offer someone who's thinking about starting a speaking business, or, you know what, they're just not getting the gigs that they had hoped to get when they started?
Yeah. We'll get more technical in a second, but the greatest gift the martial arts gave me was this philosophy, and it applies to business, it applies to life. Perfection is not a destination, it's a never-ending process. You see, you have to embrace that. Especially, I think there's an obligation. Once you accept a fee, when people are paying you for it, there's an obligation to be your best, and there's an obligation to continue that process. There's no such thing as being good enough. As a black belt, I'm never satisfied. I'm happy, I'm a very happy guy, but I'm never quite satisfied. There's always some way that we can turn it and go a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more and grow and improve. And I think if you embrace that as a speaker, everything else will, that's become my foundational phrase in my presentations. If you come to one of my presentations, you're going to hear that at the beginning, you're going to hear it at the middle, you're going to hear it at the end, right? I'll beat you with it.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I think complacency can kill dreams and when I wrote my book, From the Soapbox to the Stage, one of the things that I talked about is you got to constantly improve on yourself. You've got to work on your education. So in the book, I laid out the plan on how to make sure that you are constantly, learning and be open to learning. Too many people think, okay, I know everything I need to know, and so we need to. And I think that goes along the line. Perfection. Not only do we need to perfect our skills, but our minds as well, right?
No, we're singing in harmony. The other thing is, though, and this is where we'll get a little more technical. We all have great ideas. We all think we have great ideas, right? Most of us do. Are they marketable? And that's a crucial thing to think about. Once you decide to do this as a business, right, you have to ask yourself that question. You have to ask the marketplace that question. What you have to say, are people willing to buy it? Is it useful to them? Does it have value to them? If it doesn't mean it's not a good idea, but it does mean you're not going to make a living as a speaker trying to sell that idea. Does that make sense? So identify that. Like any other business that produces a product or a service, you have to understand the market. And a lot of times, just like this, with the black belt mindset, we adjusted it for a business audience, right? It applies in the business world. Granted, that one wasn't a great leap. People really embraced that idea. But I'm not teaching them more. Well, we do some sessions in martial arts, but at some of these conferences. But that's not what we're talking about. Not talking about kicking and punching. We had to adjust that mindset so it applied to business, so that it served the needs of the market and had value.
I can see a huge market for what you do with precision and business, and really sharpening yourself and your vision, especially against competition, and so many things. If somebody has a dream and they want to do something, and they're not sure, do you have any suggestions on how do you figure out if what I feel passionate about, what burns inside of me, if what I think I'm good at, how can I test that to see if there is a market for it?
Well, now we're back to what we talked about a little while ago. Sometimes an idea needs some time to mature. It needs some time to take shape. So take every single opportunity to go out there and present it, right? And then understand where your niche is. This is important. Two of my mentors, Larry Winget and Joe Calloway, I credit for this. I think this is crucial for any speaker. They asked us in 2 boot camps what meeting planners are looking for. And of course, we all said leadership, sales, customer service, blah, 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 and I said, no, those are topics. Larry said, people are looking for either ideas, meeting planners are looking for either ideas, opinions, or solutions. And you have to know which niche you fit into. I thought I was a solutions guy, but I'm not. I don't teach processes. I share ideas, you see. And then, once you understand that, your marketing, your delivery, everything has to be in alignment with that, right? If it's not, if I'm trying to sell solutions, but I go and present ideas, there's a disconnect. And I can't help but disappoint the audience. If I market to them, tell them what to expect, and I deliver it, that's when the connection's made. That's when you're going to get the repeat business. That's when you're going to make a living at it.
So I have to ask you, do you ever combine martial arts in your professional presentations?
We'll do it right now. You want to do it? Yeah, actually we do.
I used to take Ishin-Ryu now, many years ago.
And I think there's some other people around here that study too, right? Yeah, let's do it. We could have an MMA cage match right here.
But when you got in front of a large audience, a business group, do you ever combine that?
I don't do the tricks. Some black belt speakers do that, break the boards, do those things. And believe me, I'm not criticizing them. That's what they do, and that's what they feel comfortable with. Because I'm really working in the philosophy and the mindset part of it, I don't want to go to the gimmicks, so to speak. Okay, I'm not comfortable with that. You got to be true to yourself. To me, it would be like putting on a plaid suit, and I don't look good in plaid, right? So again, you got to find that. Don't do something because you think it looks attractive, different, sexy, whatever, right? Be true to yourself. I think that's critically important. You don't need gimmicks, right? You don't need gimmicks. You need a good message.
Yeah, you're right. You do need a good message, and it's got to be an engaging message that people are convinced I need to listen to. This is important. I will mention though gimmicks. One of the stories that I tell in my book is I was at a business presentation, and they flew in this guy who was from out of town to kind of create like a pep rally. And he walked out onto the stage, he introduced him, and he's really short. He's a short guy, you know, kind of stout. And he walked in with carrying a milk crate. And then he walks up to the lectern, and he throws it on the floor behind the lectern, steps up on it, and of course, he just generated incredible laughter. But it's a great open.
See, I wouldn't even call that a gimmick. That is, as soon as you said that, that's in perfect harmony, right, with what he presents himself as. And that's the important thing. I was working with a guy who was a magician he didn't do any magic till halfway through. See, now, he's a magician. That's not a gimmick. Walk out and do a trick. I'm sorry, an illusion, right?
Illusion.
Anybody. Yeah, but that's
what, all the magicians just change the channel.
Right, there it is. So yeah, you know, that's the thing. When I use the word gimmick, that means it's something that's incongruous. It didn't fit, right? It's taking people off the message. It's just distracting rather than reinforcing your message.
Yeah, it doesn't flow. I mean, I went to a speaker one time, presentation, and the guy pulled out a guitar out of the blue and started singing. I was like,
was he good?
You know, the judges are still out on that.
Because that's the thing too, right? If you're gonna use tricks, boy, you better be good at it.
You better be good.
Right? Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So you're talking about a magician actually came out in the middle of the presentation and did some sort of trick?
I was trying to encourage him to do it right from the beginning. This guy's very, very good. And I think
is this the opening the hand and the flame? I've seen that one.
Oh, no, it wasn't that. But I don't want to give his whole show away.
Okay.
But that's the important thing, right? If you're going to do something, and I think that's huge to talk about. A lot of people get a lot of good feedback initially when they go out and speak in front of friendlies, right? And that's all good, and it can build up your ego, and there's nothing wrong with that.
In front of friendlies?
Sure.
What do you mean?
Your first time you go in front of your own chamber of commerce, right, or your own Toastmasters group and all that. Everybody's telling you what a good job you can do. That's good. But then find some people who are going to rip you apart, right? You got to find that old master. No matter what we do in martial arts, you're going to find some guy that's going to correct you, you see. We call it kata. And I think it's equally important, if not more important, than speaking. Got to find people who are willing to criticize you honestly and correct you, right? So that you can hone that presentation, make it better. Because everything else we talk about, I think the talent has to be there. If you don't have the talent, granted, you can develop it. I think anybody can develop the talent. I don't think you're born with talent. It's something you grow into. But that's what you really need to focus and work on. And never stop, right? I think we've beaten that drum a little bit, yeah?
What's your take on Toastmasters, speaking about developing?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. I really do. Again, it's a great opportunity, especially for people, well, two things. It's a great personal development program. And it's great for people who want to and or have to speak, but are not going to do it necessarily professionally. But they have to do it within their business, whatever, right? for people that want to eventually become professional speakers, I think it's a wonderful place to start.
Yeah, it's a great laboratory for developing your speaking skills. And I tell people, you know, when you start out speaking, especially in Toastmasters, you know what, I wouldn't even worry about in the beginning with your hand movement and feet movement. That'll come over time.
Right.
But I think the most important thing is what we develop, confidence.
Yeah.
When you develop confidence, and I would assume that could be compared to martial arts, when you develop
It's one of the
confidence
key
in your
words we have.
moves, right? And I think one of the biggest things is that's transferable. The confidence is transferable to, for example, in anything you do, or to your audience, right?
But good segue. Again, confidence is one of the key words we talk about in black belt mindset. Confidence is not surety in an outcome. That's arrogance, you see.
Yeah.
You go in the ring, you don't know if you're going to win or lose. You want to believe you're going to win, right? But that's important. That belief's important. But you can't honestly say you know. The only thing you can, I can't. If I fight you in the ring, I can't control you. You're my opponent. You've got your own strategy.
Yeah.
What I can control is the training and preparation I put in before I get in the ring. Confidence is being sure that you deserve to be there. So again, back to the speaking world, right? You want to be confident, then practice, train every opportunity. Toastmasters, NSA, the local Lions Club, Rotary Club. Anytime someone will let you speak, do it.
And I think a lot of, from my perspective, the confidence is also when you feel just confident being in your own skin and being relaxed and that you believe in yourself and what you're talking about, rather than being so consumed with nervousness that
must be confident in what you're talking about. Now, the other side of that coin, though, is a lot of times people will say, well, are you nervous before you speak? I said, well, it depends. Sometimes people say, are you nervous if there's a big crowd, 500,000? I said, no, I'm nervous if there's supposed to be a big crowd and there isn't. But those jitters, those kind of pre-fight jitters, those are good. And all the speakers that I know, the top-tier speakers that are mentoring me and whatnot, they still have them. That's a good thing. The confidence isn't going to get rid of that, right?
Right.
You just manage it. You
and I love
it.
what they say in Toastmasters, the butterflies never go away. You just get them to fly in formation.
Amen.
That's what we need. Well, thanks so much for coming out, Jim. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. It's a
I
pleasure.
think a lot of people learn from that to pick up some tips and appreciate the wisdom that you passed on.
Thank you so much.
Keep doing what you're doing. There is a difference between public speaking and professional speaking. Picking which one you decide to take up requires a better understanding of yourself, your talents, and what sets your soul on fire. It then requires you to set out to find those who want to learn what you know and can help others. I hope you'll join me for future episodes of this show as I set out to tap into the knowledge of professional speakers who are willing to share their secrets for success on the stage. As Dale Carnegie once said, make the most of today, get interested in something, shake yourself awake, and let the winds of enthusiasm sweep through you with gusto. I'm Bill Corbett, and I'll see you the next time on From the Soapbox to the Stage.